Welcome to your N Plus Mercedes EQ Formula E Team Championship Edition e-bike. For your convenience, your e-bike is delivered to you mostly assembled. This video contains a few steps for completing the assembly of your e-bike. You can also find assembly instructions by scanning the QR code on the box. Unboxing your bike. Please note that you will require an additional person to assist with this step. With the box standing up lengthways, use a small knife to safely cut the tape. Be careful not to cut into the box itself. Gently lift your bike by its frame or wheels. First, let's assemble the handlebars. Begin by removing the stem cap bolt from the steer tube. Then, slide the handlebars onto the steer tube and loosely reinstall the stem cap and stem cap bolt. Ensure that the cables are not wrapped around the fork. Attaching your front wheels. First, remove the plastic axle between the legs of the fork. Please note that from time to time, brake calipers can compress during transit. When this happens, you can spread the brake pads using a slim plastic utensil, such as a brake caliper separating tool or a spatula. Then, loosen the screw and washers from the axle of the wheel hub, separating the washers so that there is a gap between the two washers on either side of the wheel. After that, ensure that the tabs on the washers are facing down and carefully lift the front of the bike, placing it on the axle. Note that you'll need to ensure that the bike is firmly on the ground before proceeding with the torque arm bracket installation. Once the forks are sitting on the axle, remove the nut off of the right fork from a rider's perspective by twisting it in an anti-clockwise direction using an 18mm wrench. Note that you'll need to slide the nut off of the cable once you've finished. After you remove the nut, attach the torque arm bracket by placing the shorter end beneath the fork, being sure to align the center of the hole with the axle. Note that the torque arm will need to be perpendicular to the axle. Next, place the cable back through the nut and begin to tighten using the 18mm wrench by twisting it in a clockwise direction. Tighten the knot alternating sides as you increase the torque on both axle nuts so that they are being tightened equally. Check the wheel is centered before moving on to the next step. Once the nut has been fully tightened, you'll need to ensure that the second arm of the bracket, the longer of the two, is parallel to the fork arm. Then, open the hose clamp fully and place the end around the fork arm whilst feeding it through the top slot in the bracket. Now you're going to need to reinsert the end of the hose clamp into the body, tightening the screw by turning it in a clockwise fashion. Next, connect the motor cable. Note that you'll need to ensure that both arrows are aligned. Finally, insert the bolt that holds the motor cable bracket and gently tighten it with the 3mm Allen key until it's secure. Installing the saddle. Start by loosening the cam lock, then slide the battery and seat post up and close the cam lock. Next, loosen the bolt on top of the saddle clamp and create enough room for the rails of the saddle. After that, twist the top bracket of the clamp so that it is parallel with the bike and place the saddle in the designated grooves. Finally, twist the top bracket once more so that it lines up with the bottom bracket and begin tightening the bolt using the hex key from beneath the saddle. Installing the brake lever. Start by loosening the bolt on the brake lever clamp, then slide it into place over the right side of the handlebars in a parallel position and tighten as per the torque specifications. Attaching the light. Start by loosening the screw on the lighting mount, then slide the light into position on the mount before tightening. Note that your light has two modes, which are sensor activated based on the lighting conditions you are riding in. Next, install two cable ties, one on the top right fork leg and a second on the top of the fork itself. Then, loosen the bolt on the left fork and spread the clamp so that you can install the brake line. Finally, tighten the screw back up and place a cable tie on the lower fork leg to hold the brake line in place. Now it's time to recheck the stem, handlebar, and fork alignment. Begin by checking that the forks rotate smoothly and confirm that there is no play in the headset by holding the front brake and attempting to rock the bike backwards and forwards. If there is play, torque the stem cap bolt to the upper end of the recommended torque range. After that, check that the handlebars are still correctly aligned with the front wheel. Connecting the cables. Start by identifying the two longest cables originating in the headset. Note that there will be one on either side. Then locate the short, thin cable on the left side and connect it to the back of the light. After that, locate the short, thick cable on the left side and connect it to the bottom of the handlebars. Installing the pedals. You will notice your pedals have printed symbols on them. L for left pedal and R for the right pedal. Now, fix the right pedal to the crank, spinning the wrench in a clockwise direction. The left pedal goes onto the left side, the same side as the kickstand. Grab the included wrench, spinning it in an anti-clockwise direction to tighten. Inflating the tires. Begin by removing the cap from the tire valve, then twist the tire valve and inflate using a pump with a press-to-valve attachment. Note that the recommended pressure is between 50 and 75 psi. with the minimum being 50 psi and the maximum being 75 psi. Once you've inflated the tire, tighten the tire valve and place the cap back on. Charging your e-bike. Your bike has 2 integrated batteries. Use the charging point located under the bottom bracket to charge both batteries simultaneously. You can also charge your seat post battery remotely by sliding your saddle out of the frame and disconnecting the cables before placing it on the charge. Be careful not to drop the power connection into the seat tube. Powering on and off your display. Hold the mode button for 2 seconds to turn the display on and off. Your bike will come with power assist levels 1 through 3. To access levels 4 and 5, please head to nplusbikes.com as you'll require an additional passcode. Also note that in order to turn the light on, you must hold down the up key. For additional support, email support@nplusbikes.com or use the link in the description below. You are now ready to ride your N Plus Mercedes EQ Formula E Team Championship Edition e-bike.